bump a week for me this week, because as well as the other things I've bought, I did pick up the recreated Sinclair ZX Spectrum by Elite. I had no idea what it's all about. It is the only authorised full-size recreation of the 1980s personal computer, apparently. Now, this caused a bit of a stir on Facebook this week when it was announced that Game were knocking these out at $29.99. These originally retailed, I believe, at about £100. There's been a lot of criticism about them. I think the way the original company did business after the Kickstarter campaign was apparently not the best. But I didn't buy from them, I bought from Game. Let's have a look. So, quick unboxing. Inside the box you get, oddly, a mouse mat that says I love retro gaming, which I do. I don't love this mouse mat, mind. It's a nice little logo there, but that's wafer thin and probably not much good. And I love retro gaming. I think it's a coaster. It's a coaster. Okay, whatever, who cares. A charge lead, which is just micro USB. Now the recreated ZX Spectrum can run from USB, it can run from battery, it can also run with rechargeable batteries in and charge itself directly using the charger lead, which is quite nice. There's the destructions, which are pretty minimal, it has to be said, and do a bit crinkly. Ugh. A warning: risk of explosion if battery is replaced by incorrect type. I wonder if we can get ZX Spectrum to explode on camera. That'll be a YouTube video worth seeing. And a sticker showing you the different shortcuts. I think it's if you're planning to use this as a regular keyboard. Why you would ever want to use it as a regular keyboard? Now, the ZX Spectrum has massive nostalgia for us all, and it is lovely and stylish and 80s as hell. There it is. And everyone remembers these, the rubber keys. The dead flesh keys, as people refer to them as. But you wouldn't want to use that as your go-to keyboard for regular, like, officey shit, would you? I wouldn't. Might be fantastic for Manic Miner, but I wouldn't like to create a Word document with it. Jump cut, and we're back with the recreated ZX Spectrum, only we're not. That's the recreated ZX Spectrum. That is the original ZX Spectrum. Clue being. Focus, damn you. There we go. Pain's starting to wear away a little bit on this one. But still works great. Yeah, the symbol shift keys had some use. But it's great. It's the ZX Spectrum. It's got such a place in the hearts of British computer enthusiasts, and it's one of those things that the Americans have no idea about, wondering what the hell all this ZX Spectrum malarkey is all about anyway. But the point is, you can see they are pretty similar. Now, the keys are a slightly different colour. Now that may be that these ones are new and these ones are 30 years old. They feel, well, of rubber, so they do feel similar. There's definitely a difference in pressure or tactility, if that's a word. The new one feels easier to type on, to be honest. I'm not sure if that's intentional or just over time, whatever. But they're almost identical in looks. Weight-wise, the newer one is lighter, but not by a lot, to be honest. the plastic feels very similar. They do feel like very similar things. Now, the new one merely has this on the back. You've got your on-off switch to turn it, guess what, on and off. A status light, which tells you it's working, it's pairing, stuff like that. And to go with that, you've got your pairing button. Because remember, this thing is Bluetooth. So we use this and watch that to pair it with whatever you're using with. Layer A and B basically means A is using it as literally a Sinclair ZX Spectrum with the official emulator and stuff like that. B will let it just work as a Bluetooth keyboard, which will work with any emulator. And then you've got your 5V micro SD, which will work to charge or power the machine. Of course, the original has nothing of the sort. It has a 9V DC power supply, an edge connector, this is what happens when you're having to rely on crap cameras, mic and ear, which is of course to connect to your tape recorder, and TV, which would normally be RF, which is the worst of the worst. This one actually has been AV modded, so that will output to AV, but otherwise looks exactly the same. Alright, so how does it work? Well, I've connected it up here to a Mad Catz Mojo, which is just an Android device, and I've downloaded Spectacol, which is a ZX Spectrum emulator. What I'm going to do here is load up some random Spectrum games and we'll see how well they work. First of all, we have Wanted Monty Mole. Now, Spectacol has a nice search option which allows you just to search for the game online and then download it. So here we are, Wanted Monty Mole. The first problem you're going to find is you will have to figure out what the controls are for each game, as the only way to get it defined across all games the same is to use the official emulator that comes with the device, and unfortunately that's useless. So, but once I've figured out what the controls are, which button does what, Wanted Monty Mole plays very well. Absolute classic, still loads of fun today. So yeah, first game works absolutely great. So as you see, using the search option, you just type in the name of the game you're looking for, and using the recreated Spectrum keyboard to do so makes it less of a chore. I'm looking for Jack the Nipper in Coconut Capers, which is the one I used to play a ton as a kid. Yep, nothing politically incorrect about the little African fella there. That sort of shit we just let slide in the 80s. Now, Jack the Nipper also seems to work fine. Just messing around here trying to figure out the keys, but I'm working them backwards and forwards. Managed to pick up the coconut and the rest of it. Another game that's a lot of fun to play. Another game that seems to work great on the recreated Spectrum via Spectacol. Now, the one most people will be looking forward to is Manic Miner. So I've got to give this one a try. Unfortunately, this is where the wheels start to come off. Now, for whatever reason, I just could not get Manic Miner to control properly using the recreated Spectrum keyboard. I tried various versions, various downloads of Manic Miner, but for whatever reason it just didn't accept the inputs properly, and Miner Willy just sort of bounces around the place. Again, this may be able to be fixed by using an alternative emulator, but it's kind of disappointing when you're looking for an all-in-one solution. So Manic Miner, nope. So, the obvious place you go next after Manic Miner is Jet Set Willy. Now, I had a few problems with this, trying to control Miner Willy and Jet Set Willy. It's not obvious what the controls are. I did mess around a bit and I did sort of start to figure them out. It's not the most obvious, but I can put down Jet Set Willy as a maybe. Through the recreated Spectrum on the Spectacol app, it does seem to be controllable. Maybe it just needs a bit more of a mess around, maybe a bit more attempt to define the controls, but this is just a first look, so yeah, I'll put it down as a maybe. It's not, it is there, the controls are there if you want to look for them. So Jet Set Willy's a maybe. Okay, to an arcade conversion now. This is Nintendo's Donkey Kong. I wasn't sure if this one was going to work at all. However, it works as well as it ever did. It's not a bad little conversion for the ZX Spectrum. As you know, it's not a patch on the mighty Amstrad CPC version, and it's a far way from the NES game. But Donkey Kong on the ZX Spectrum plays just how it did. It controls exactly the same, it's responsive, it's fine. It's just not the greatest conversion of Donkey Kong you'll ever play. Now, the game that's rated one of the best on the ZX Spectrum, and probably the best arcade port the ZX Spectrum ever saw. That is the mighty R-Type. Now, unfortunately with this one, well, it obviously loads in fine, I couldn't get this to play at all. Now, the game does appear to let you define the keys, however, pressing a key to try and define them makes no difference, it doesn't recognise them. So unfortunately I never got any further than the title screen on R-Type, which is a shame because it's such a great game. Again, it might work different with other emulators, but on this setup, it doesn't work. And unfortunately, Chase HQ gave me the same issues. I was unable to redefine the keys. Pressing the keys didn't seem to do a lot. If you continually force press them, you can sort of get it to assign a random button, for whatever reason. It doesn't work. I wasn't able to play Chase HQ either. So, to the last game I tried, and I saved the best till last. Chaos is not only my favourite ZX Spectrum game, I think it's probably my favourite game of all time ever. Chaos is a simplistic game where up to 8 wizards, either computer controlled or controlled in turns by the players, take it in turns to generate monsters, conjure demons, throw spells at each other until there's one left standing. It's timeless, it's brilliant, and I still play it to this day. And I was so pleased that this runs absolutely flawlessly. Now that might not seem like a big deal, but I tell you what, I paid $29.99 for the recreated ZX Spectrum, and if that gives me a portable, authentic feeling copy of Chaos, it's actually worth it. Now I'm sure everyone else out there will completely not see things that way, and you're not going to be buying the recreated ZX Spectrum just to play Chaos. But at least I can tell you, this plays absolutely spot on. What a game. So, is the recreated ZX Spectrum worth buying? Well, it kind of depends on what you want it for. For £30 as a novelty nostalgia gizmo, yeah, it's good. I've had, as you can see, mixed success with the first emulator I tried. I had zero success with the emulator that it comes packaged with, but there's many emulators out there, and this will work with iOS or Android. It's a lot of fun. If you can pick one up for 30 quid, then, you know, why not? However, I can see why this bombed at £100. No way. For something that's really a Bluetooth keyboard with a very nostalgic feel, that's crazy. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. I've certainly enjoyed playing these Spectrum games again. I can safely say the recreated ZX Spectrum is a fun addition to any ZX collector's library. However, it doesn't do everything it says on the tin. I've been GamerSci, keep it hard.